All right, welcome back, everybody. I want to just take a few minutes to talk a little bit about the Carl Sagan reading, a little bit about the scientific method and logical fallacies. Now, here really is kind of the core issue. So when we look and we talk and we think about research method and design, and we think about psychology as a science, and we think about statistics, we need to think about the core issue here of epistemology. And when I say that, what I mean is how we know what we know about the world. Now, there are many different ways of knowing, right? We can have traditional knowledge, we can have religion, we can have other specific disciplines. However, when we're talking about psychology and science in general, there is only one worldview, and that's what we call the rational empirical worldview or the scientific method. And if we want to argue effectively in science, we have to play by the rules of science. And so unless we become aware of things like logical fallacies and the impact that they have in terms of how we come to the conclusions that we come to and how we make a good argument, we really fall short on understanding and appreciating the rules of science. Now, I'd like for you to take a few minutes to pause this video, hop on here and check out Michael Sherner talking about Carl Sagan's baloney detection kit. It's a very, very helpful thing. I want you to pause here for a second, and then when you're done, hop on back. It's about a 5-minute video or so. All right, welcome back. So really, Michael Sherner's kind of big few points here are, how reliable is the source, right? How reliable is the evidence that's being presented? Has anyone ever tried to disprove the claim? Can we falsify this theory? This ties very nicely back into how we talked about the 5 steps in science and the rules of science. Number 3, does the claimant's personal belief somehow factor in? Is there an agenda? Number 4, does the new idea better account for the data than the old idea? Number 5, does the claimant play by the rules of science? This is a very helpful framework for us in determining whether or not an argument has validity and whether it's something that is important to us and we should take note of. And using these 5 steps can be a helpful way for us to frame the many, many, many arguments that we hear every single day. Now, in addition to this, we have to become aware of some logical fallacies that happen every single day, and fallacies that we hear in arguments all the time. And so in your Sagan reading, there are several that are listed there, and these are some of the ones, right? So ad hominem, which is when we're attacking a person instead of the actual argument. When we appeal to ignorance, arguing our conclusion must be true because there's no evidence against it. It can also be very similar to the argument from silence. Argument from adverse consequences. That's arguing that a proposition is not true because of a negative outcome. An argument from authority, which is when we use a privileged position in order to infer expertise. And if you didn't hear it the first time, there's a second time on the slide, apparently. Begging the question and assuming the answer. So, for example, saying something like, we must institute the death penalty to deter crime. Confusing correlation and causation. We've talked about this before in research methods. Having a false dichotomy, saying it's either this or that, there's no third option. And we know that when we're actually looking at solutions and outcomes, there are always more than just 2 options. Inconsistencies, so whether we're holding 2 or more propositions that are held as evidence, and that both cannot be true if we hold them both at the same time. Misunderstanding the nature of statistics is a very important thing that Sagan focuses in on. Using a non sequitur argument, so that's when the conclusion does not follow from the premises. Observational selection, which is when we pay only attention to the certain facts, we ignore other ones. To me, this seems actually quite a lot like confirmation bias, but just maybe by different words. Another argument is called post hoc ergo propter hoc. It happened after, so it was caused by. So in English would be saying after this, therefore because of this. The fantastic slippery slope argument, and that's when we take a simple proposition and all of a sudden it leads to an extreme outcome. So, if you invite a bully into your home, the next thing you know, he's going to own your life or something like that. Special pleading, and that's when we apply special rules to other circumstances or arguments, but not to our own. Sagan really points out that this is often used in religion to argue for an unarguable, or from a position where there cannot be an argument based on the rules of science. The old straw man argument, which is when we substitute a person's actual argument with a gross characterization of what it actually is meant to be. So we're putting a straw man in place of the actual argument. So we weaken the argument by presenting it to be not as strong, I guess, as what it would be otherwise. And then using suppressed evidence as well. So that's purposefully admitting some evidence in order to prop up our own argument. To me, this also really looks really just like straight up lying, a lie by omission. Well, it's that time of year where, we have lots of logical fallacies out there. And so I want to take a moment here. So let's play a little game for a little bit. I want you to take a moment here, looking at this particular fallacy, all right? So we've got anti-vax moms and responsible bartenders, and both, are not giving shots to babies. So which fallacy is this? In order to help us here, I'm going to bring out a good internet friend of mine called, Logic Ref. And here's what Logic Ref says. Logical fallacy ref says, boom, that is an illegal composition / division, assuming that one part of something has to be applied to all. All right, thanks for your knowledge there, logical fallacy ref. Well, let's try another one. How about this one? If vaccines were healthy, you could put it on a spoon and eat it. Try it, you'll die. Oh, logical fallacy ref says, boom, we've got a non sequitur on the field, attempting to link two or more points that have nothing to do with each other. How about this one? I have an immune system. No vaccines needed. Logical fallacy ref says, boom, we've got ourselves a false dichotomy. Player refuses to acknowledge the existence of alternate viewpoints. We've got an either-or situation. How about this one? Someone said that Aaron O'Toole looks like Hitchcock from Brooklyn 99, and now I can't unsee it. All right, what do you guys think here? Logical fallacy ref says that is an ad hominem attack. Personal foul, attack the opponent instead of his argument. Now, I'm kind of curious to hear what you think. Do you think that these are characterized or classified correctly? Do you think I got it right? Did I get it wrong? I'm interested to hear what you got to say. Now, this week, I also want to ask you, what additional questions do you have? We've covered a lot of material. What made sense to you and what didn't make sense? What would you like to know more about? Send me an email, send me a message via Canvas. I'd love to chat with you and check in and see how things are going. Questions are always welcome. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and we'll talk soon.